Hello and welcome to my Audio for Games project on Final Fantasy XV Royal. This is by me, Kui Joseph. Well, I hear you asking, what is Final Fantasy XV Royal? Well, as described by a Reddit user on r/Final Fantasy XV, it follows Prince Noctis and his friends as he embarks on a journey to reclaim his kingdom that has been invaded by the Empire of Nilfheim. He discovers he is on a quest to combat the powers of darkness with the powers of light that only the Lucian lineage of kings can wield. The game was developed by the Japanese developer Square Enix, who have also created the Final Fantasy, Nier, Kingdom Hearts, and Dragon Quest series. The game is an enhanced re-release of Final Fantasy XV, which was released worldwide in 2018, and the original releasing worldwide in 2016. Some things you may need to know before going into this presentation. The game aims to examine its characters' humanity and place them in a more realistic setting than most Final Fantasy games. Its prominent themes are friendship, destiny, and legacy. Originally, Tetsuya Nomura was the director of this game, but he moved to take care of Kingdom Hearts 3 in 2014. Plus, the game never went into full production mode because Tetsuya Nomura's personnel was constantly being called to help work on the Crystal Tools engine, which Final Fantasy XIII and Final Fantasy XIV uses. From that point, Nomura chose Tabata to replace him, and Tabata had just finished Final Fantasy Type 0 at the time. Now, the goal of realism. There was an interview with him at IGN, and he said, "It's very true. We're similarly trying to create a more realistic feel to the world, and a more realistic Final Fantasy," he admits. "The kind of Final Fantasy I want to make, it's one where you feel this is a real, living, breathing world, and these things could exist in real life. The characters is the same too. It's a real person with real motivations. Your friends and comrades are the same, even the monsters. They're credible, and they could exist and would live in this environment and behave this way. Just to get that feeling of credibility is something that I really want to do." And I believe that is something that he had aimed to do in Type 0. If you guys remember well, the game was a pretty dark one, so it's the same idea. So now, how does he do that? The question here is, how does the music do that? How does it add to the realism that he wanted to make happen? The first thing in Chapter 1, also known as Departure, and here we come across and meet our heroes and main characters. We have a setting of a car broken down on the side of the road, as you can see it in the slide if you haven't played the game. The things I find interesting in this setting already are modern cars, and a little while later a buggy passes by you. We can also see clothes that look modern, billboards that look real, towering power lines, and these are all things that exist in our reality. The music that's played during this sequence is called Broken Down, and before I play it, it's a blues harmonica song, and just a blues harmonica song. That's it. And for those of you who are adept to music theory lingo, there's flatted thirds, flatted sevenths, a little bit of a shuffle that occurs midway through, and there are bent notes. So let's listen to that song.
I think we can forget about hitching our way there. Thought people were friendly outside the city.
You can only go so far on the kindness of strangers.
You're just gonna have to push her all the way.
I've already pushed myself to the brink of death.
Get up. Come on, car isn't gonna move itself.
Sheesh. I thought the car was supposed to move us.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Can it? Ready, steady, push!
Ooh, so good, right? So the thing that's interesting here about this is that it's setting the stage. What we're hearing here is blues music, and blues music is from America. So we're seeing things that remind us of America. We're in a location that looks similar to Arizona, for example, and we're hearing blues music. Next, we move on to them pushing the regalia because it's broken down. So they're pushing the car. And think of this as an actual realistic solution to the problem. It's not like they have a crazy device that goes, "Oh, you could just do this," and stuff like that, right? No, they actually have to push the car to the nearest town. The music that can be heard during this is Stand By Me. And I don't know if you guys heard this before, but you're probably aware of the song if you play the game. But there's a version that was made specifically for the game by Florence and the Machine. It gives me chill, lo-fi vibes, and it's something I can listen to while studying and working. Take a listen.
It's so heavy.
When the night
Unbelievable.
has
Not exactly a fairy tale beginning, huh, Prince Noctis?
We let ourselves get carried away.
Look, these things happen.
So it's wonderful, and man do I want to keep listening to it, but the thing that's interesting about it is that it's about friendship and brotherhood, which is the main theme of this game really. And I thought that was something really interesting to point out. Again, we're talking about America, and this is a 1960s American pop song by Ben E. King. But here's the interesting thing about it. They chose a modern artist to perform. They didn't have Ben E. King, the original artist who sang it, because then it would sound like a Fallout game or something like that, right? To me, that's the point of why they chose a modern singer doing a modern rendition of that song. Okay, so they push the car and get all the way over to the town called Hammerhead. Well, it's actually more like a truck stop than it is a town, right? The setting here has everything. An actual gas station / pit stop, there's a diner, a garage, convenience store, and there's even a trailer for where you can spend the night in. And if you look around, people are in normal clothing, like a normal place or a truck stop. Even the dialogue uses things like American slang. Now, sure, part of it is a localization thing, but I find it interesting that they're using slang terms with a southern accent. So the song played here is Hammerhead's theme, and I like to think of it as Americana and light southern rock. Let's hear it for a moment.
Hey there, y'all kept a girl waiting. Now, which one's the prince? Aha! Hello, Your Highness. Congrats on your wedding.
Not hitched just yet.
Lady Luna Frey's groom-to-be, here in Hammerhead.
Apologies for taking so long.
You best save your apologies for Pawpaw.
So the interesting thing is the instrumentation that they chose to use. We have organ, acoustic guitar, we have the mandolin with some tremolo picking, we're back with the harmonica, we have tambourine in there, shaker, and a little bit later, at about 2 minutes in, it really turns into and feels like a bar band.
That makes you.
Cindy, Sid's grease monkey granddaughter.
Roll her in while I'm still young. Didn't your daddy tell you? She's a custom classic, not some beat-up old clunker. Prince Noctis.
Yeah.
Prince. Like they took your old man and kicked the dignity out of him.
What?
You got a long way to go, son. And that slack-jaw's getting you nowhere fast.
You guys get the idea. But so far, we haven't really heard anything that sounds like a Final Fantasy game, right? We're so used to everything we've heard before, having strings, a lot of cinematics, a lot of rushed things going on. But up to now, we haven't really heard that. We've heard great tunes, but nothing emblematic of the Final Fantasy series. This brings us to this bit. We go over to Cindy, one of the characters in the game, and we get a quest from her. We're tasked with killing these giant scorpions in the wilderness. Basically go out to Arizona and kill giant scorpions, right? Actually think that might be true, at least in my opinion. Anyway, the track that plays is unapologetically Final Fantasy. Let's just listen to that for a bit.
Looks like we found our first targets. Ready, knocked?
The best offense is a good defense.
Outstanding, Doc.
Nothing wanted more attention.
I'll play it
got some real chemistry here.
Now there's so many things going on, even in that first 15 to 20 seconds of it. Number 1, there's this syncopated ostinato, the battle rhythm essentially. An ostinato is a continually repeated musical phrase or rhythm, frequently in the same pitch. It looks like this music sheet here. We actually hear this in every Final Fantasy, and I know some of you don't know how to read sheet music, but that's okay. The way I like to look at it is this: 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 1 2. And if you're to do it with a rhythm, and I'll clap for example, 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 1 2. You've all heard that, right? In some capacity, it's in every one of the Final Fantasy games. Next, we have the Crystal theme, which is a descending arpeggio that happens in all the Final Fantasy games. They have it in strings, and this is emblematic of battle music in Final Fantasy. Dissonance and chromaticism. I'll briefly play the beginning again, just so we can hear that. The battle rhythm.
The best offense is a good defense.
And now the Crystal theme with the strings.
Outstanding, Doc.
Cool, right? Alright, moving on. So then we have the radio. A large part of this game is you and the boys just driving around Eos. Just cruising around Eos. That's what you do. And this is how you go to all these places that way in the game. One of the things that you can obtain later in the game is soundtracks from the previous games and all those early soundtracks. But before that, you just get these generic tunes you can listen to. This one specifically is called Easy Dub and Bass. And before we jump into it, what I want you to listen for is 1, it's synth heavy. It kind of reminds me of a Final Fantasy 13 type of thing. 2, there's some trap hi-hats. So whenever you hear kss, or whenever you listen to hip hop like that's like a trap hi-hat. And 3rd, there's this dubsteppy whoop whoop whoop. So this is to give you some kind of idea of what kind of music this is. Let's listen to it. I'm actually going to correct myself right now. That one wasn't triplets, but there are triplets elsewhere. Those are actually 8 counts. Anyway, so presumably the boys like it. I mean, why are they listening to it in the car? And why else would they be listening to it? That's the question we have to ask ourselves. Why are we hearing this music? What it does is it connects us to them. Because presumably it's modern. It's what we like, right? And there's a lot of tunes that are on the radio that are kind of similar to that, or they're like a little bit heavier and more like metalish and stuff like that. So it's kind of interesting, and you know, it's all Ignis, you know, not Noctis. Ignis is the one who likes trap. Anyway, the goals of game music. I believe there are 2 goals. One is to represent the setting, whether that be the action that's occurring, where the location is, or a combination of the 2. 2, how should we feel about it, or how should we feel about what's going on? Because we can have somebody be killed or something, but it could be like happy, right? And killed in the context of you beating like a boss or something, for example. You know what I mean? Think of like vanquishing a boss or something like that that was like your rival or something. I look at this as familiar. With this music, familiar versus beyond our world. We have music like you've heard for Hammerhead and various other cities throughout the game. The music of towns is the music of the people, us human beings. It's our music. There is familiarity there. Oftentimes, it's mostly diatonic and consonant. And for those of you who aren't music theory people, diatonic is when music stays in the same key. It doesn't move around unless for exceptions. And oftentimes, it's small ensemble music, just like we've heard before. For Hammerhead, we didn't hear like a whole choir, a big string section, or anything like that. It's small ensemble music. Now I look at that as being comfortable. Music that's comforting to us, because we're familiar with it. Then the other side of it is that we have Beyond. The dungeons, where demons lurk, right? It's more chromatic and dissonant. As oftentimes more cinematic, there's epic things like choirs and orchestras, usually a lot of strings and things like that. I'll very briefly play this one tune from a dungeon to give some perspective.
Won't keep you in the dark.
It's so different from Hammerhead, right? This is really creepy. There's no harmonica, and that gives you an idea, right? Before I end, I want to provide some exercises, so if you want to take this knowledge with you, here's what you can do with our little Moogle friend. When you're playing any game, not just Final Fantasy, you should ask yourself, how does the music show the action and setting? Like how Hammerhead kinda showed what location you're in based on what instruments were playing, based on what it sounded like. It gives you an idea and the perspective of the location you're at where the action is. What emotion or emotions does the music want you to feel? Does it want you to be happy? Does it want you to be uncomfortable? Does it want you to feel afraid? What does the music want you to feel? Do you feel those emotions when you hear that music in the setting? And if so, why or why not? And with all of that in mind, is the soundtrack successful in that way? So think about these things whenever you play any game. Not just any Final Fantasy games, but any game you like to play. And that wraps up my presentation for you today. I hope you have enjoyed it, and I hope you have learned something. Now if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask at all. See you in the next video.